Hello, and welcome to this YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too because you are consuming content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting because I believe in a whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we are choosing. What I'm discussing in this video is why it is so important to cut karmic cords. Now, when we talk about karmics, we talk about this energy of like something that was created in our bloodline, something that we have experienced or either our ancestors have experienced, but everybody knows that what's the saying? We all pay for the sins of our fathers. What is not resolved in one generation inevitably becomes a problem for the next. And knowing this process, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about karmic connections, things that because of the energy that was put out there by either us or the people that we come from or somewhere along our line, then there's a return that has to come back from that. And when we are experiencing these returns, sometimes because it feels so familiar and so comfortable, we get caught up in these relationships and we're not able to let them go. And most of it is because it didn't get resolved in the last generation. And then we got this generation where it's not getting resolved. And then we're just going to pass it on to our children. And so when you get to the place where you decide, I'm no longer going to live in these karmic relationships, these relationships that are based on negative energy that was put out there, things that need to be repaired, things that need to be fixed, things that need to be resolved, and I'm going to create anew, I'm going to expand and I'm going to grow, then we know that we have to cut the cords with people that represent those things in our lives. So when we talk about cutting those cords, we have to remember that these are not bad people, inherently bad people. I was just having this conversation with my daughter yesterday because she's still in a youthful stage of thinking that this person's good, this person's bad. And I'm like, that's not always the case when it comes to dealing with a lot of people. You'll find that depending on your energy and your attitude that you bring to the table and what they bring to the table, sometimes the chemistry of that creates a certain negative experience. You're their karma, and they're your karma. And it's almost nothing that you can do about it unless you both can step back at the same time and say, hey, I don't want to experience this. How can we be renewed together? And so this is how sometimes long relationships last, or either long friendships, or either, long connections of any sort. People decide we're both experiencing each other in this negative way. We don't have to. How can we repair this? How can we go forward? When we think about these cords that we don't cut, either we really attach it only to a specific person, and we think that we're only experiencing this negative thing because of this particular person that was in our lives. But we might find over time is that we can cut this person out of our lives, but because we have not cut the cords with that karmic energy, we experience a person very similar or a similar situation again and again and again until we truly make peace with and heal from whatever it is that's recreating that thing in our life. I find when people don't usually want to accept this so quickly, they almost trick themselves into believing that every relationship or every connection or every interaction that they're having is somehow a little bit different. And the fact that it didn't work out, or the fact that there was these issues or that issue, it was that person over there. And that's the quickest way to just go ahead and keep those things to yourself and then pass it down to your next generations, right? Now, if you don't have generations, then that's just something, it's different if you're not carrying it on. And that's another way that those cords can be cut, just by not creating a new generation of people. But if we want to cut them in our lifetime, we have to remember that it is not something that is negotiable, because if not done, we're going to keep experiencing the unwanted over and over again. Many ways that this is approached from many people's perspective is to first, like I mentioned already, focus only on a particular person. But one of the bigger ways is to not acknowledge what this is truly doing in our lives, not acknowledging the damage that it's causing in our lives. That energy that we could be using to focus on our lives and what we're creating and inspiring others and creating beautiful things in this world is always going to be tied up in some type of karmic connection because we haven't truly resolve that thing. And I, like many people, have seen people in relationships to where they have more information, they have a better insight, they know what the better outcome should be. Yet when you meet someone that they're connected to, this person has a lower frequency, they have a lower mindset, they're not in alignment with the higher beliefs of life and the higher ways of being a human being. And you're thinking to yourself, like, why would that person be entertaining something like that, or why would they have that in their lives? And it's not about judgment, because for me it's all observation. It's rarely judgment, it's just observation, because I want to know what human beings are doing and why they're doing it, right? And you're wondering what this means. It means that they usually have attached certain things, like if they were empathic people. This is a lot because that term goes around a lot. I don't really use it, but I do know what they mean when they say it. If you talk about empathic people and the nature of a person like that who feels something for everyone, wants to help everyone, wants to serve, blah, blah, blah. If they haven't truly fixed those aspects in themselves that makes them want to overextend themselves and give too much and be too caught up in what other people want of them and have going on, they'll eliminate people who have traumatized them in that way, but yet they'll go collect new people who are also experiencing them in the same exact way. And so that's what you find when it comes to these karmic ties that we haven't cut. And then they'll still find themselves siphoned of the same energy, not having the same freedom, not having the same mental peace that they want to experience, because it'll be attached to this new person with this new, version of this karmic energy that they haven't resolved yet. And you'll see them up and happy when this other person's up and happy, when this other person is feeling negative and it's like, you're not doing enough, you're not being enough, you're not enough, and all this kind of stuff, and I'm not happy, or whatever it is. Then you'll see them slump in their energy. You'll see them not feel good about themselves. When you have this going on, you have to remember that your energy is not being used for positive and productive things, because you still have those ties that are holding you and pulling you towards these people, places, and things, are acting out certain things over time. Have you ever seen people that I've read several articles about this, where children are adopted into different families, and they come from a certain type of background, but they've never met their real family. They don't even know who the people are, their mother or their father. And yet this child goes into the new household with this new family, and they display the same characteristics and energies and attitudes that come from their own parents. That is when karmic ties have not been cut. You can remove people and places and things from different environments, but until that healing work has been done, until those ties have been acknowledged and those ties have been cut, those recurrences of people and experiences and negative entities that we don't want to experience, it's going to keep on showing up in our lives. It's so important to cut this, because how are you going to move on in life and keep on creating the beautiful life that you want to experience if you're always going to have those things lingering in the background? What many people's solution for this is to cut people out altogether. So instead of healing those things inside of them that make them want to be empathic, that make them want to be used, because just like the song, some of them want to be used by you. Some of them want to abuse you. Some of them want to be abused. We don't want to admit these things, but there's a wanting to experience the familiar in a lot of people out there. So someone will be like, why would this person sit in this abusive relationship for 20 years? Because there was a karmic tie that was never cut. And instead of healing, they decided to just go ahead and give into it and just have that as their life and as their lifestyle. And what many people are doing in some of those situations is just cut out the people altogether. And so what they're experiencing is a very limited version of life, a very siphoned off version of life, because they decided that the people were the problem and not those karmic ties that they need to cut or heal or figure out to not allow to take over their lives again. So I always say this to many people. I told this to my daughter the other day. She was fussing about some group she had to be around for something. I said, what you want to work yourself towards? Like, why do I even have to be around them? I don't think these people like me. Why do I have to hang in a group that people don't like me? It's some extracurricular that she was doing. And I was like, why do you care? I was like, you have to become indifferent. I was like, if you don't learn to become indifferent in those environments, you're literally going to keep playing out whatever karmic ties are flowing through you. And you have to either heal or you have to address. And so normally she's like, I'm just upset. I'm gonna go in my room and cool off, and doesn't come out. But she was determined to pull me into this conversation. And I'm like, girl, you know how my mind thinks. I'm not gonna let you be a victim. I'm not gonna let you not be solution based. It's just not. So when you're pulling me in, you already know what you're pulling in, right? Because you know me. And I told her that. I said, I feel like you wanted to have this conversation today because what you want more than anything is to rid yourself of the feeling of not being enough and not being accepted in environments. You don't want to care that much. You don't want to feel like that's always something that's haunting you every time you go in a different environment or deal with different people. You want to feel like you've outgrown that aspect of yourself. And nothing happens overnight. I was telling her there were many aspects of myself that you wouldn't even believe are part of me that are not a part of me today because of how strong they were. And they came from my previous generation. I looked right at the behavior, and I was willing to say, I need to cut the energy off from these environments. I need to cut the karmic ties, and I need to do whatever I need to do in order to get healed. I don't care if it's visiting therapy. I don't care if it's getting out of a bad marriage. I don't care if it's moving away 1,000 miles or whatever it is. I was like, whatever I need to do, that's what I need to do, because I don't want you to have this too. And many things that I saw in previous generations that have trickled down, they don't deal with. And it's because we have to take that time to cut those karmic ties. And we can't attach it to people because that's not the root of what's happening, right? And she said, if you tell me to look within, and I'm like, that's a part of it. That's a part of it. That's a part of it. But there's also a deeper thing. What do you want to experience? How do you want to experience your life and your day? And what is it inside of you that's getting in the way? Can you look at your previous generation, even me, or even on your dad's side, and say, this is a behavior that they have, and look at the patterns of it and look at the actions that go along with those patterns? That's a huge way to cut those ties and to cut off the thinking and the mindset that keeps on creating those patterns in your life, that creates those patterns generationally. It's so important to cut the karmic ties because that is our energy. That is our life force. And if we're giving it to something that's not in our best interest, that's not growing us and expanding us in a way that we can be used as a vessel for inspiration and love and motivation and peace and freedom, then we're pretty much wasting our time. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.